Welcome to Breaking the Vow on Strong Island Radio. This is a show where we turn pain into power and find recovery after divorce, separation, and breakups. This is where we push the emotional hang-ups to the side and create a plan to reach our best possible potential. This is where the next chapter starts and how the healing begins. So let's welcome your hosts, Theresa D. and Benny, the life coach.
And here we are. Welcome to another edition of Breaking the Vow. I am Benny, the life coach, and with me is
Theresa D.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm excited.
So am I.
Do you know why I'm excited?
I know why you're excited.
We have a special guest in studio today.
I love her.
So, Jean, I would love if you introduced yourself.
Well, my full name?
If you feel comfortable.
Yes. No, my name is Jean Williams Mercurio. That's my business name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I am a practicing matrimonial attorney in Babylon.
Nice. So, one of the reasons this show is very important is divorce comes with a million different questions and a million different intimidations. What do you think people face as the most intimidating challenge about divorce?
The preconceptions they have in their own heads.
Okay.
The internet, their friends.
Yes. Google.
People who get into their ears and tell them what they should be doing, what they should be getting, and not having the ability to follow their own inner voice.
So when you tell me people that give opinions and suggestions, right, these are people that didn't spend day one in law school.
It's not even the people who spent day one in law school. When I first started, 2 or 3 years ago, because, I'm only 25.
Right.
Right.
When I first started, I used to say the people who interfered the most in what I did all day was hairdressers and nail technicians.
Yes.
Sure.
But now the people that interfere the most are the internet, Facebook.
Yes.
Just the Yenta crew, as I call them. It's, somebody will come to me and said, well, my friend did this and my neighbor did that. And I'm like, no, I can say this to anybody. If you can have two houses that look exactly the same, people have the same car, the same style house. Once you walk through that door, that's where the differences start. Mm-hmm. Who the people are, what they do for a living, who their kids, how they behave. There's no rhyme or reason, and there's no cookie cutter solution. So when somebody comes in through the door and they say, well, my neighbor or my cousin, my aunt, my uncle, whomever told me this is what it should be. Well, okay, if you take what they got, let's now apply their specific fact situation, how the law was interpreted, who their judge was, who their attorney was,
yes,
what they needed, what they wanted out of their divorce. Because remember, some people, they're willing to accept just about anything to be done and out. Other people, they're in it for the long haul, for the battle. They'll fight over, usually hold up a pen, and I say, they'll fight over this pen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that all too well.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. Yes, the hardest thing that people have to deal with is themselves and their inner voice and knowing how to listen to it.
You're talking, and I'm reminded of a scene in the movie When Harry Met Sally. About
Only you.
I like movies. So there's this scene where this guy wants to keep a wagon wheel coffee table, and they ask him
Yes.
what's the opinion. And it's an ugly wagon wheel Roy Rogers coffee table. So this is a new couple getting together and about to get married, and they're speaking to people that had failed relationships or unsuccessful relationships, we'll say. And he says, because one day you're going to be in court fighting over who gets this ugly Roy Roger wagon wheel coffee table.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so people come in with these lists of things that they have to have, that they
Yes.
need. And I try to talk them down off of the roof and say, okay, now let's prioritize. What is the most important thing to you? How do you, what's the battle worth? If you're going to fight over, I had a couple who fought over a green suede couch. They could have bought 3 new couches for what they spent fighting over this couch
Yes.
that had a jelly stain on it.
Right.
So
And there's a green suede couch.
Right.
Let's just
And
point
it's a
that out.
green suede couch.
Exactly. So
I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't buy a green suede couch. It could be nice. I'm not putting anything down.
no, it's personal taste. But my point is let's
Still a green suede couch.
Right.
cost benefit analysis here. Every day of the week, depending on the situation, the battle over the children, almost always worth it. To a point. Then sometimes you have to look at what are you fighting over and
Right.
what do you expect to get? Like, is it reasonable?
Right.
But when we start talking about the dollars and cents, if we're talking about splitting things like a pension and annuity, value of home, I look at if you're going to spend $5,000 to get $25,000 to $50,000, no way. I'm going to tell you every day of the week, cut a deal.
Right.
If you're going to spend $5,000 on $150,000 every day of the week, I'm going to say it's worth the battle. But
Right.
again, they have to have, the head for it. They need to listen to what they know to be right for them, for their
Right.
individual situation. And they also need to know that where the dollars and cents make the most sense.
So there is that saying, and I don't want to complete it. Hell hath no fury.
Yes, like
Yeah.
a woman
Like,
scorned.
But it's like
Absolute-
anyone's scorned.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's not
And
just the woman.
No, because I've met more men that are more,
Oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
more complaining
Every
than,
day of
than
the week.
anything. And what happens is, it becomes less about what you're fighting for, but why.
Right.
Absolutely. There are situations where people can't get past their anger. Or
Right.
the
How do you
need
deal
to-
with a completely emotional client?
I try to be very logical with them. Theresa knows this. This is how we met.
Yes.
I myself am divorced. And so I was not a good client. I am still not a good client.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to reason with them and say, listen, at the end of the day, acting off of anger, acting
Yes.
out of revenge, frustration, it's not going to merit you anything. All you're going to do is further the anger. You're never going to let go of it.
Further the anger and spend more money.
And I tell almost every one of my clients, if they will do it, I give them referrals. I said, get yourself into talk therapy. Get yourself with a therapist.
Yes.
If this is what's debilitating you and stopping you from moving forward, talk to somebody. Let
Yes.
somebody kind of help you diffuse this.
So
Yeah,
let's
because
not
it's
let's not forget something here. There are two sides, right? But there's also a judge.
Correct.
So I would assume making a judge angry is less
Not a good look.
than a strategic move.
No, listen, as I explain to every client, we don't control who we get as judges, but we
Right.
also don't control how a judge is going to hear our case, what they're going to see it as. And I tell them all the time, I may appear in front of a judge and get the same result 3 times in a row, and on the 4th time, I get a completely different result. And I say, I don't know who pissed in their cornflakes that morning.
Right.
What
Right.
their mood's going to be. And maybe
Right.
I say, or my client says just the wrong thing, and boom, you're done.
When you operate out of emotion rather than strategy and a plan, would a judge notice this?
Yes.
In your opinion.
Yes, I do think that when clients are acting more emotionally instead of logically, my job is to be the logical person.
Right.
I can't personalize a case. I can't take on my client's emotions. I have to kind of tone them down. I had a client yesterday. He hasn't seen his daughter since last June. This is a post-judgment case. I handled it in the original divorce. Same strategy was used to get money, keep the child away from dad. There's a lot of nuances that I can't discuss in this case, but he's on the phone with me yesterday because, I'm trying to get him some time with his daughter,
Yes.
trying very hard. And we're just so close. And every time we get just so close, the wife is fighting it really hard. And he doesn't really see where the strategy is going and that, he's really this close. And he's on the phone screaming and yelling at me yesterday. And I said, listen, you have to just take a breath. I get it that you're desperate to see your daughter, but screaming and running into a brick wall every day is all that's going to do is going to give you a headache.
Right.
Take a step back, take a deep breath, and toss it up to the universe and let them do what they need to do.
I think that's really important that you point that out. So unfortunately, not everyone plays fairly.
No.
No.
And then in that case, the divorce and the argument is not about the child or the benefit of the child. It's about you did something to me, so I'm going to make you pay.
Right.
Spent half the morning on the phone with that this morning.
Yes.
And that's and what is the long-term effects of something like that?
On the litigants, on the children, on the divorce itself.
Sure.
So on the litigants, it's just furthering their anger with one another. They're getting divorced for a reason. They don't want to be together anymore.
Right.
You know, that's when you have the case where both sides want the divorce. You know, in the offset case where somebody's still desperate to stay married, it doesn't serve any purpose. You're not going to win that person over if they've really moved on. On the children, they're firsthand witnesses to all of this. I tell
Right.
every one of my clients, remember, your children, don't say we're going to stay together for the kids, because your children are learning how to love from the two people who are the most important in their lives. So if they live in a house where there's no love, where there's constant fighting, where there's absolute hatred against the other party, that's what they're going to bring with them into their
Yes.
first relationship, their
Yes.
second relationship, into one of their most permanent relationships. Let them see it's okay to walk away and move on. Now, that's me. I can't control what goes on the other side of this.
Right.
You know, and most judges know that this is how I operate my tactic.
I think what most people don't realize is divorce it's a marital tool. I also think that just because you're ending the marriage doesn't mean you're ending your life.
Right.
The reason for divorce is to find a sense of recovery.
Absolutely. To
Right.
move on.
To move on.
And, you know, it's explained to clients all the time. You will have this person in your life for the rest of your children's lives.
Yes.
You know, you have graduations, life events, grandchildren, weddings, all of these things. You're not leaving this person behind. They're tied to you, shackled to them for the rest of
Right.
your life.
You have to find a way to deal with that.
You absolutely do. And listen, I'm never going to say it's easy. I haven't really been a success at it myself.
Me neither.
You know, so what I really appreciate about what you're saying is the reality of it.
Yes.
So this best foot forward answer that people love to say, well, it's not real. And the fact is, we all have feelings, we have thoughts, and we have ideas. And the idea is to not be conflicted by the emotional thinking,
Right.
to not be hung up on, I understand.
That's a big ask, though.
That 100%.
Yes.
But it comes to you're weighing out your life.
Right.
In the weight of that, what do you want more? Do you want the recovery, or do you want to resolve an unresolvable tension? So we're going to go into a break, and then I have an idea talking about unresolved tensions.
Yes.
And how if we start to alleviate those unresolved tensions, we can learn
You can move forward.
find
Absolutely,
recovery.
which
So
is why I focus on getting clients into talk therapy.
I think that's great. All right, so let's do a break.
Yep, let's pay the
some
bills.
and we'll be right back. All right, so this is what you're going to do. I had a flat tire. Do you know who I called?
You call Tommy.
I did at 631 Tire and Wheel, 666 West Hoffman Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, 11757. Or you can go to 631tire.com, 631-412-5165, and ask for Tommy.
Tell him Theresa sent you.
Or Benny. I'm still here, but he helped me out, and I know he'll help you out.
Well, stop hitting potholes.
Smart move. Went to buy a bunch of patio furniture, went to the guy's house, got destroyed by the weather. I asked him, I go, why didn't you cover this? He says, I didn't know I could. I didn't know how to do that. I said, I got a whole idea for you, buddy. Everything will be sold if you just take care of your equipment. He says, how do I cover it? Guess what I told him to call?
Wrap America.
Absolutely. They have a reusable zipper wrap, completely covers RVs, wave runners, patio equipment. It's great. If you go to wrap-america.com, ask for Tommy if you call 516-830-0040. So, we're not getting out of here on time?
No, we're not.
Is that
that's all your fault.
It is my fault. All right, so then I want lunch.
Yes.
Does that mean I have to buy lunch?
Yes.
If I'm buying lunch, I want Giovanni's Pizza.
You got it.
All right, so I'm going to call 631-669-9507. They're at 1009 Little East Neck Road in West Babylon, New York, 11704. And I am getting a chicken parm. I know your father likes that.
Oh, my father loves his chicken parm.
I love everything they make. Gio, I'm getting fat and it's your fault, but I love every minute of it.
Hey, Ben, did you know 65% of people have curly hair? And the biggest problem that holds them back from embracing their curl is frizz.
Frizz.
Yes.
I do know about frizz.
Curl Evolution, located at 233 East Main Street in Babylon Village, is solving that problem.
Good.
They're Long Island's top curly salon. They specialize in cuts and colors, especially for curly hair.
I'll tell you, if you have a bad hair day, that's who you go to.
Yes, you do. They cut curls differently as well, totally different than straight hair. It's done dry.
Dry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Teach me more.
Yeah. It's because of their individual curl pattern.
Oh.
They have over 2,500 five-star reviews, so you can check them out at curlevolution.com. They're located at 233 East Main Street in Babylon, 631-422-4200.
I want my hair to be curly just so I can go.
Yes.
I'm going. Listen, if you need a lawyer, I'm going to tell you what to do. A lot of this show is about divorce, taking the proper steps to get divorced. If you're going to do that, you want the right attorney. The right attorney is more than half the battle, if you ask me.
Yes.
So what I would do, I think you know who I'm going to tell people to call.
Yes.
Who am I going to tell them to call?
Jean Mercurio.
Absolutely. 57 West Main Street, Suite 130, Babylon. What's that number again?
It's 631-543-0032.
Jean is a friend and a warrior of the show. Give her a call.
And we're back.
So, we were talking before we went to break about these tensions and these unresolved tensions. And what is that? So people go through life, people go through traumas. And what happens is when we hold on to these traumas and we don't deal with those traumas or learn to let them pass, we hold on to them and we
Yeah, you
dissect
stuff them way down. They always come out.
Well, they do. So what happens is the end result of emotion is a chemical change.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about something or you're rehearsing an old argument that you had and literally reliving it
Yes.
and practicing it just in case it's ever going to happen again, which of course it's never going to happen
Right.
again. Your brain does not know the difference between an argument that happened a while ago or what's happening now.
Right.
You're taking on the chemical reaction, which is the emotion of what happened then. So to find recovery, if you keep interacting with that tension doesn't resolve.
No, it
No.
never will.
It doesn't. You know, my sister-in-law used to always make this statement, and I really do: build a bridge, get over it.
Right.
And that's the best way to do it, is to just say, this is the past, and now I'm only
Right.
looking forward. Because to bring in the past stuff is only to weigh yourself down
Right.
with
You can't look in the
negativity.
rearview mirror.
No.
So what happens is when we have a feeling, or we have a thought or an emotion, we want immediate satisfaction. We want the resolution. And when you can't get that, that's when you start to go back, and that's why the tension stays unresolved. So acceptance is key. The question people will say to me is, well, how do I do that? How do I get over that? Talk therapy is one thing.
One, yes. And I tell clients all the time, divorce is nothing more than death. It's the death of your marriage. So if anybody's ever grieved a loved one, or read, and I get the steps wrong, and I do it every time, but there's 6, 7, 5, however many steps, but there's anger, depression, sadness, and that may just be depression again. And the final step is acceptance.
Right.
Denial is one of them. And with my clients, I see them go through the steps, and they don't go, nobody goes 1, 2, 3, they go 1, 7, they go back all over
Right.
the map. And the hope is at the end of this, you've reached the acceptance where you have done all of your looking back, your denial, all of the things that you cannot, just have to let it go, move on. But the only way they're going to do that is to kind of close that door and say, I'm done looking back.
Right. You can't.
The problem that people face, the
challenge
that people face is that anger or that resentment or that feeling of depression or depressive thinking or that lonesomeness that comes along when you're thinking about what's going on, you're thinking about how you appear. Really, that stems from a position of judgment. You are judging yourself. Therefore, you assume that everyone else is judging you the same way. As someone that grew up incredibly and socially awkward, I used to believe that everyone looked at me the same way as I saw myself. And because I was uncomfortable and I had a list of long insecurities, I thought everyone just saw me this way. This is just who I am, which was inaccurate. And when you were mentioning about, listen, every divorce is different, even if all of these things
are the same. They appear the same, but they're completely different.
They are so different. When people say to me, well, my friend who I work with got this, and why can't you get me that? Or my buddy pays this much in child support, and why can't I pay
They
got to
stay off Google, and they have to stop talking to each other.
You're out of your mind, because nothing is exactly the same.
Right.
The similarities end at, well, we both have brown hair. That's
right.
The similarities.
Right.
And even then I would beg to differ. Maybe his a little grayer.
I think the fact remains that everyone is a unique individual. Every situation has its own chemistry, right? People have their own science and their own pathology. And people don't realize that. Or what happens is they hear a story and they like that outcome.
Right. It's a good outcome. Right.
Right. And it's sort of, so my daughter is finishing up her master's in social work. And I said, please don't fall into the trap where you're going to diagnose everybody. And she's doing it.
Right.
That's what they do. And the problem with that is that somebody hears somebody else's story and they're like, well, that should be mine too, because I like that story.
Right.
No, you can't do that. It's all different.
You have your own story.
Just as you said, you were socially awkward. We're all socially awkward at some level. We all perceive ourselves not as worthy as we should be. There's a few people out there who, just skate through life and are like, I'm perfect. I'm great the way I am. Most of us aren't. But the problem with the divorcing situation is all those insecurities, those become huge.
Right.
They become huge and they magnified, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And what they do is add difficulty.
They do. And it's a balance. The balance is there's always an imbalance in a marriage to some extent. One party is more dominant, one party is a little bit more submissive. The perfect marriage is one where they're actually equal. They're out there.
Fewer of those.
They're very few. So, if you have the dominant party as a client, you almost have to sit on them a little bit, because you're never going to resolve the case, because they're going to continue to try and dominate.
Okay, so tell us one of your best divorce stories from clients that have come in.
Wait, that's kind of
I want to hear.
That's interpretive.
Benny.
Right. There's some questions that we talked about outside the studio.
Right, we're not talking about that one.
We're not going to use that one, but we can have another one.
Yes,
I know.
Whenever you're ready.
What are you talking about? My best, as far as
the most mind blowing, the most oh my God, really?
I can't believe people people actually act this way.
God, there's a million of them. And now, of course,
have you ever had a client they're like, buddy, I've seen people in pre-K that act more
mature than you.
I have had people. So I was just telling this story last night. So it gets a little weird around the edges. A friend of mine referred me his tenant, sweet young girl. She wasn't even 30. They had a 7-year-old and a 3 or 4-year-old. Very, very, very religious. And it was a battle of, she just wanted to move on. She wanted her kids to have a normal life. And he was horrific. I mean,
not without me.
Right.
Well, I was in court one day, and so my friend was the landlord, and he lived downstairs. And, she had told me, she says he comes in, not he, my friend, her husband would come in at night and not just demand sex, but have sex with her. And I said, that's rape. Oh, but he tells me it's what the Bible said. I said, nope. That's not how this works.
Your guy might be big up there, But the
Right,
judge
so-
guy is big down
Right.
here.
We happened to be in court, and I'm talking to my friend who referred, and I'm like, oh yeah, and here in court. He goes, I thought they reconciled. I said, well, why? He goes, well, because I keep hearing and we go back.
That keeps creaking.
We
That's
go back
awesome.
into the judge, and I said, Judge, I have a problem here. I said, Mr. So-and-so is on a regular basis raping my client. We had a hearing that night, that afternoon. He was out by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He was kicked out, you know, and this was, to be very honest with you, this guy probably to this day, this case is probably 5 or 6, more like 7 or 8 years old. I think that he would probably still
Be going there and thinking that that's okay.
I mean, he was going to the apartment, leaving gifts for her. It was just like, people are weird.
Yes.
People are extremely weird. I mean, I've had cases that, I mean, the stuff that goes on just is bizarre, you know.
And how, I mean, to victimize someone is terrible. Because that's what that is.
And believe it or not, I've had 2 cases in my career. Like, it's such a horrific thing.
You know, and of course, I'm sure he wanted to move on and have his cake and eat it too, no pun intended. But I think that what happens is, for that girl, is how do you find recovery when you will not stick up for yourself and say no?
You know, that was one that I kind of had to force her to say the words.
Okay.
And she did. And she did move on. She met someone new and established another relationship. I haven't heard from her since then, so I don't know what the nature of the relationship was. I mean, I'm very hands-on with my clients. So I had another client. She came in to support a friend when the friend was coming in for a consultation. And she says, you know, I just got divorced, but I don't like my attorney, and I need to get this quadro done, and could you and I'll come back. So I said, no problem, whenever. So then I get a call from her. I got served by CPS. So it turns out that she had, what was the genesis of the divorce was she would drink. So, but she was a great mom. The kids were teenagers. She would, get them ready for school, make them dinner, do the laundry, do everything. Once everything was done, she'd go into her room and down a bottle of vodka. So the ex-husband called CPS on her. So now the kids are going, they have to go live with grandma. And they didn't want to live with their father. They went to live with grandma. And I supported this woman, and we dealt with the CPS, with the neglect, and we did the whole thing. And I really said to her, the court wanted her inpatient. I said, you have to go inpatient. She went over to South Oaks.
South Oaks,
which is only a 14-day program, I believe. She did it twice. She came out, I think she's 5 years sober now.
Good.
Excellent.
After she came out, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't live on all this little bit of money. I said, you need to get a job. Well, what am I going to do? I said, Deb, I don't care what you do. I get it. You don't have an education. You don't have this, that. I said, you have a great personality. I said, you're a lot of fun to be around. I said, you love people. I said, look for a job. So she's now working. I think she works in like the Arbors or someplace like that. I said, and at the time, she said, I don't have a car. I said, Uber. If you need money for Uber, I'll give it to you. I said, you need a ride? Tell me. I'll drive you to work. I said,
bless.
whatever
Good for
you
you.
need,
Yeah.
I will do. So she's 5 years sober. She's working. Every once in a while, she checks in with me to tell me how well she's doing.
Excellent.
Okay.
We did end up doing the quadro, and she got part of the pension.
See?
I am moved by that story for a lot of different reasons. As a member of recovery, listen, I
You'll
know,
be 30 years sober, right?
yeah, April 1st.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And it's interesting to me. So listen, I know what drinking does. I know what drugs do. I understand the dynamics of an alcoholic household.
As do I.
Yes, so do I.
Now, when someone needs to get sober, I'm sure he called CPS for his reasons, and I'm sure there was concern because someone downing a bottle of vodka,
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Right.
maybe, someone could argue, right? But putting that to the side, again, was that phone call to CPS made, with the best of intention, or
Not in this
was it
case.
cruel? So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about our intentions even more And right now, we're going to pay some bills.
Yes.
All right, so this is what you're going to do. I had a flat tire. Do you know who I called?
You call Tommy.
I did at 631 Tire and Wheel, 666 West Hoffman Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, 11757. Or you can go to 631tire.com, 631-412-5165, and ask for Tommy.
Tell him Theresa sent you.
Or Benny. I'm still here, but he helped me out, and I know he'll help you out.
Well, stop hitting potholes.
Smart move. Went to buy a bunch of patio furniture, went to the guy's house, got destroyed by the weather. I asked him, I go, why didn't you cover this? He says, I didn't know I could. I didn't know how to do that. I said, I got a whole idea for you, buddy. Everything will be sold if you just take care of your equipment. He says, how do I cover it? Guess what I told him to call?
Wrap America.
Absolutely. They have a reusable zipper wrap, completely covers RVs, wave runners, patio equipment. It's great. If you go to wrap-america.com, ask for Tommy if you call 516-830-0040. So, we're not getting out of here on time?
No, we're not.
Is that
that's all your fault.
It is my fault. All right, so then I want lunch.
Yes.
Does that mean I have to buy lunch?
Yes.
If I'm buying lunch, I want Giovanni's Pizza.
You got it.
All right, so I'm going to call 631-669-9507. They're at 1009 Little East Neck Road in West Babylon, New York, 11704. And I am getting a chicken parm. I know your father likes that.
Oh, my father loves his chicken parm.
I love everything they make. Gio, I'm getting fat and it's your fault, but I love every minute of it.
Hey, Ben, did you know 65% of people have curly hair? And the biggest problem that holds them back from embracing their curl is frizz.
Frizz.
Yes.
I do know about frizz.
Curl Evolution, located at 233 East Main Street in Babylon Village, is solving that problem.
Good.
They're Long Island's top curly salon. They specialize in cuts and colors, especially for curly hair.
I'll tell you, if you have a bad hair day, that's who you go to.
Yes, you do. They cut curls differently as well, totally different than straight hair. It's done dry.
Dry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Teach me more.
Yeah. It's because of their individual curl pattern.
Oh.
They have over 2,500 five-star reviews, so you can check them out at curlevolution.com. They're located at 233 East Main Street in Babylon, 631-422-4200.
I want my hair to be curly just so I can go.
Yes.
I'm going. Listen, if you need a lawyer, I'm going to tell you what to do. A lot of this show is about divorce, taking the proper steps to get divorced. If you're going to do that, you want the right attorney. The right attorney is more than half the battle, if you ask me.
Yes.
So what I would do, I think you know who I'm going to tell people to call.
Yes.
Who am I going to tell them to call?
Jean Mercurio.
Absolutely. 57 West Main Street, Suite 130, Babylon. What's that number again?
It's 631-543-0032.
Jean is a friend and a warrior of the show. Give her a call.
And we're back.
All right. So now, before the break, we talked about what happens in a relationship when you do have substance or alcohol abuse dependency disorder. Now, let's not pretend that this isn't real. And I had a client who had his ex call in New Jersey's DIFUS. And they called DIFUS on him, and he did have a problem. But the reason, so did the ex, by the way.
Right.
Because she had a needle in her arm, too. But she was just looking to mess with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I did was I set him up with somebody in the Bronx. I got the gentleman through detox, through treatment, and what happens? COVID.
Right.
Yeah, that's been. I have a client right now. I spent 2 weeks trying to find a program for her.
Okay.
The children's attorney wants her into a 90-day program at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first battle. There was all the usual resistance. Well, I can't leave the dog. He's got an ear infection. I
Sure.
can't do this. I can't do that. I said, you can lose your child. You can lose the ability to see him other than an hour a week with a supervisor. I said, but you can go into rehab. It was a battle because the place I found for her, which has a very low rate of recidivism, she didn't like. She couldn't smoke. She can't watch TV.
Oh, it is rules.
Right, there's
Right,
rules.
a lot of rules. So she found a place that she had gone to previously. I'm not happy. Me personally, I'm not happy. But I can't. Again, these are personal choices. The existence of alcohol and drugs in a marriage makes the divorce sometimes harder because
Yes.
if the party who is in the middle of the addiction isn't willing to accept their role
Right.
and the impact it's had on the family and the impact it's going to have on the future of the relationship, people fight. They don't
Yeah.
want to. They do not want to admit.
So I have people in my life that are struggling with this very moment. They want to get divorced, but since they are the only working party in the marriage, and the other one is home drinking, this is exactly what I can't afford the attorney. What do I do? So I'm actually working on creating a strategy to find an attorney for this person in New Jersey, in Bergen County, by the way, just throwing that out at you.
Okay.
Because I always want resources. So no one deserves to be kept a prisoner. And the one thing I think is the greatest freedom you can ever find is the one you give yourself. So, codependency, being Al-Anon, all these great things, they teach you how to kind of select yourself first.
Right.
Sometimes it's very difficult. So I although I'm someone who got clean and sober with a 12-step program, I do understand the 12-step programs do not work for everyone.
No,
Nothing
everybody's different.
works unless they're willing to accept, and nothing's going to work unless the codependent spouse realizes that they can't be codependent anymore. Listen, I was a codependent spouse.
Me too.
I dealt with it for many years. I dealt with it through fear. Alcoholics. What's the first thing they do? They isolate the spouse because, keep it private. Don't tell anybody. And there was a lot of.
And if you do, how dare you tell
Right,
somebody?
how dare you tell
what's
somebody.
going on in our house?
Right.
And so, as an attorney, as an advocate for my clients, I bring a lot of my life into what I do.
Good for you.
Yes.
So I have no problem explaining to clients, saying, this is where I come from. This was my experience. This is what I can do to help you.
So what would you suggest to somebody who is in a financial bind? They are the only working party in the marriage, and their partner or spouse or however you want to call
Right.
it gets a disability check, drinks it away, maybe gives them a little bit of money to pay the bills. What do you do if you're in that situation? How do you find freedom?
How do you find freedom? Now, that answer has. I could go on for an hour about that
Right.
because there's
Good.
so many
It's a
variables.
loaded question.
It's because are there kids in there? Are there
No
no
kids.
kids? Is there, all right. So I have a case right now. I represent the husband. He's a very nice guy. Makes a good living. Probably with overtime makes probably about $100,000 a year, which is okay. It's not wonderful. Struggles to pay the bills, keep the roof over, keep the house intact. Wife is actually she's an MSW. They're both. He's been in recovery. He's like you, probably 20, 30 years. She was in recovery too until she did something stupid. And now she is just gonzo. And
Off to the races, yeah.
she should be, if she could get clean, she could make probably more than he does. She don't want to do it. She's on his doorstep constantly. I mean, it's been a huge battle, and we're going to be going to trial. So, my client, I just had a conversation with him this week. I said, have you had the real talk with her, like what she wants? And he tells me she said I could do this and this and this, and her attorney wants me to sign this. And I said, that's not how the
Yeah,
attorney's
we're
fees.
not doing
No.
that.
I said, that's her just looking for a quick fix of money from you. I said, and I can guarantee if I call her attorney, that's not the case. So what do we do in that situation? My client came to me and I said, you need to be prepared to just walk away. I get that you have a long-term relationship with her, but you need to let her go because you continuing to give her money, every time you give her money, put her in another apartment, give her money for a hotel room, you're just enabling her further. You need to let it go.
I have seen more than just the emotional connection to the marriage when that was dead and gone, but then the financial fears, especially if you cannot afford even a consultation for the attorney. And I've seen this several times. Like, I want to get divorced. I can't afford it. What do I do?
See, that's where I'm different than most attorneys. And maybe Theresa knows this, maybe she doesn't.
Do you handle anything in Jersey?
I don't.
Do you know somebody in Jersey?
I will reach out to my resources.
Yes, please.
I don't charge for consultations. I never have. I never will. The time I spend with the client that's time I give away.
It's an investment.
Right.
But I do a sliding scale. So if a client comes into me and they've got next to nothing and they, but they're desperate to get out of their marriage, I'm reducing my rate. I had an old client who she's kept in touch with me over the years. My daughter really wants to get out of the marriage. They make no money, this. I said, it's my gift to you. I'm not charging her. But then when I have a client, people who come in and there's lots of money and they're real, they're going to just fight. I'm like, well, you're sorry, you're paying.
Yeah.
I do still have to pay my bills.
One person asked me, I was going to do this sober job for somebody, and they asked me my rate. And I told them, which it's not inexpensive for what they wanted. And they're like, well, I don't even make that much money. I'm like, you didn't ask me to be paid. You just asked me what I charge for that.
Correct.
It's very intensive. Like, I have to be with someone for 24/7 for several days. That's a lot. So
there's a value to what you do.
Yeah.
There is, but I have clients that I do not charge because the people that can afford it pay for the people that cannot. Agreed.
And so I evaluate every case based upon where they came from, who was their referral source, what is going on in their case, and sometimes it is just the pull of the heartstrings.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's this thing about being human.
Yes.
Yeah. There's
Right?
that.
I mean, like, I happen to love my country. I happen to love society. I don't like what I see. I don't like all of this. Well, go ahead, write your senator and complain and bitch on Facebook. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my hands dirty. I'm going to put my boots on and I'm going to go to war and I'm going to go to battle. So, like, I remember one time my day job pays my bills, but my night job feeds my heart. That's how I look at it, right?
Correct.
So I was in this woman's office and they were in the break room and they were all talking about
They were talking about you, weren't they?
Well, everyone does.
Right.
No, my insecurity tells me so. No, when this woman was talking about how she goes to the homeless shelter every Thanksgiving to give out turkeys. And she said something to me, and she's like, well, you don't know anything about the homeless, and you don't care. And I said, that's really funny. So I said, I was like, oh, okay. So why? She's like, I go every Thanksgiving, and I go, well, that's really cool. What do you do the rest of the year? Because I'm just curious. She's
just
like,
throwing it
what
out
do
there.
you do? I'm like, lady, I've lived at a homeless shelter for every Sunday, and I get out of my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're calling me at night.
Right.
And I've been there every Sunday morning.
She doesn't know
I ran
you.
programs there. I've definitely done my share, and I don't do this once a year.
Right.
So go ahead and toot your own horn in front of all your friends here. There's this thing about being human and doing something just to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Is
Or to have others pat you on the back.
Well,
yeah, that's.
I
no.
look at it as I've been very fortunate in this life.
Right.
I've been very fortunate. So if I can give back, and it's also, to me, it's what I'm teaching my kids.
It's also a responsibility.
Yes.
There's a civic sense of responsibility that we have to take care of each other. We really do. We have to nurture each other. And I know it's not always easy to do, but you know what? Listen, let's just hit the reset button for a second. We're going to go to break in a minute. So you've had clients that could afford and clients that couldn't.
Correct.
The story I want you to think about when we go on break, what was the most successful divorce story. Like everyone walked away. It wasn't a mutiny. It wasn't to hell with him or to hell with her.
Oh, I want to hear this one.
Yes, because
Yeah,
you know
now
what?
I have to
Not
think.
because
Yeah.
divorce. Does
No
not,
one's ever happy.
Divorce
there are
doesn't have
some.
to mean.
Yeah?
There are some.
Oh, God, I still want to hear that.
Divorce doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world.
No.
All right, so let's take a quick break and we're going to pay some bills.
Yes, we are.
All right. All right, so this is what you're going to do. I had a flat tire. Do you know who I called?
You call Tommy.
I did at 631 Tire and Wheel, 666 West Hoffman Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, 11757. Or you can go to 631tire.com, 631-412-5165 and ask for Tommy.
Tell him Theresa sent you.
Or Benny. I'm still here, but he helped me out and I know he'll help you out.
Well, stop hitting potholes.
Smart move. Went to buy a bunch of patio furniture, went to the guy's house, got destroyed by the weather. I asked him, I go, why didn't you cover this? He says, I didn't know I could. I didn't know how to do that. I said, I got a whole idea for you, buddy. Everything will be sold if you just take care of your equipment. He says, how do I cover it? Guess what I told him to call?
Wrap America.
Absolutely. They have a reusable zipper wrap, completely covers RVs, wave runners, patio equipment. It's great. If you go to wrap-america.com, ask for Tommy if you call 516-830-0040. So, we're not getting out of here on time?
No, we're not.
Is that
that's all your fault.
It is my fault. All right, so then I want lunch.
Yes.
Does that mean I have to buy lunch?
Yes.
If I'm buying lunch, I want Giovanni's Pizza.
You got it.
All right, so I'm going to call 631-669-9507. They're at 1009 Little East Neck Road in West Babylon, New York, 11704. And I am getting a chicken parm. I know your father likes that.
Oh, my father loves his chicken parm.
I love everything they make. Gio, I'm getting fat and it's your fault, but I love every minute of it.
Hey, Ben, did you know 65% of people have curly hair? And the biggest problem that holds them back from embracing their curl is frizz.
Frizz.
Yes.
I do know about frizz.
Curl Evolution, located at 233 East Main Street in Babylon Village, is solving that problem.
Good.
They're Long Island's top curly salon. They specialize in cuts and colors, especially for curly hair.
I'll tell you, if you have a bad hair day, that's who you go to.
Yes, you do. They cut curls differently as well, totally different than straight hair. It's done dry.
Dry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Teach me more.
Yeah. It's because of their individual curl pattern.
Oh.
They have over 2,500 five-star reviews, so you can check them out at curlevolution.com. They're located at 233 East Main Street in Babylon, 631-422-4200.
I want my hair to be curly just so I can go.
Yes.
I'm going. Listen, if you need a lawyer, I'm going to tell you what to do. A lot of this show is about divorce, taking the proper steps to get divorced. If you're going to do that, you want the right attorney. The right attorney is more than half the battle, if you ask me.
Yes.
So what I would do, I think you know who I'm going to tell people to call.
Yes.
Who am I going to tell them to call?
Jean Mercurio.
Absolutely. 57 West Main Street, Suite 130, Babylon. What's that number again?
It's 631-543-0032.
Jean is a friend and a warrior of the show. Give her a call. All right, so we're back now, and this is the last segment of Breaking the Vow. So what we like to do is we like to end the show on a constructive conclusion, and what's constructive to me is to learn that it doesn't have to be this knockdown, drag out battle royale where people bleed and lose teeth.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I explain to clients all the time, the minute there are two attorneys involved, it's called litigation.
Right.
But it's really can just be negotiation. And so, you asked me to think of one. There's not one particular case. I can say there's dozens of cases where the parties have kind of walked away at a point of acceptance. that they've agreed to agree, and where they're going to disagree, they're going to disagree, and they reach a resolution. Sometimes we go through a little bit more battle to get there. Sometimes it's a little bit less. The best way I can say it is when both parties are equally dissatisfied, you have a good resolution. That means that somebody had to give something up and somebody had to get something.
Right.
And they compromise. That's the best way I can say it. When they agree that this is what we're going to do about the kids, this is how we're going to handle the house, this is how we're going to handle the money. And again, maybe not everybody is, running down the street cheering, but they're able to accept, they're able to move on, and they're able to live.
There is the age-old saying that is, why is divorce expensive? Punchline, because it's worth it. So, and I will say that, listen, I'm grateful for my divorce. I really am. I'm glad I'm divorced. It helped me to create a new life for myself. It opened the doors to the life that I have now, which I'm happy with. But you know what? When there were times I think that I agreed to things just to get out of it.
Yeah.
You do. I agreed to certain things, and they were really on the financial end. And for me,
Right. You're not happy about them, but you know something has to be done.
Initially, after the divorce was over, I was in a point of euphoria. I was done. I was happy. And then I went into almost like kind of a depressed point because I was like, I'm alone. How am I getting, how am I going to deal with this? Am I going to do that? How am I going to? And then I realized, and I sort of started shedding my skin, as it were, and realizing that I'm better than that. I can support my children. I can be my own person. I can do all this. And I kind of try to give that positivity back to my clients, especially the ones who, so I had dinner with a client last night who's a friend of a friend, so we've become friends. And he's in the midst of it right now. And he said, I just don't know how I'm going to ever deal with this and the being alone, and I'm socially awkward, and I don't go out and I don't mingle. And I said, yep, I understand that completely.
Yeah.
I said, I'll tell you, when we finish this and we get to it, whether it be through trial or negotiation, I said, you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to look around and go, oh. And I said, but then you're going to wake up the next morning and realize that it's better.
Right.
And every day does get better.
Day
And
two is not as hard as day one, sure.
It's just so I try to give to my clients that sense of positivity. We can get through this and we'll find a resolution. And there's always a new and better way to skin the cat. And I try to find that for my clients. I don't color in the lines. I've never, stayed within the lines. My job is to think out of the box to how can we resolve this and make it a little bit better.
I think you can't stay in the lines if everything's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Every case is different.
There is no cookie cutter.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no cookie cutter. But there are some attorneys out there who live by the cookie cutter.
Listen, I know firsthand. So when I remember, I was out of the house maybe like a month, and I got strep throat. And
you are a baby when you are sick.
God, a man cold.
I am.
Wow.
I'm a little bitch. I'll admit
Yeah.
it. So
Man cold.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm laying in my bed and I'm sweating. I got a fever. I'm sick. And I remember I thought to myself, I wish she was here right now. And then all of a sudden,
Fleeting moment.
literally 2 seconds after, I go, who am I? I said this out loud. Who am I kidding? And then I thought to myself, the reason why we got divorced is because we weren't there for each other.
Right.
We weren't.
Absolutely. I did the same thing.
Yeah, so did I.
The night my ex left the house, my son somehow, I still don't really understand how he did it, but he ended up with like a 5-inch gash on the top of his foot.
Oh, no.
At 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, we're going to the ER. And I said, text your father, call your father, do what you need to do, tell him where we're going. No response, no nothing. So the next morning I wake up, cleaning my son's room, and now the emotions are pouring out. Because not only was it day one after he had left, but now I'm like, I can't handle this. My son ended up with, 5-inch gash on his foot, 1 day into the job. And, I'm like, well, maybe we need to be together. And maybe we need to, of course, that was all he needed to hear. And he was all over that. And then 12 hours later, I'm like, no.
So
Yeah.
what I realized and what I've learned and what I promote is the only realization that anyone comes to that's worth anything is self-realization.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So motivational interviewing is a really excellent tool. When you question somebody in a court case, it's the same thing. You just are a little tougher than maybe like I would be with someone's mental health. But it depends.
I'm
right?
very conversational. I tell people I'm the least scary person on earth.
No. I mean, when, you know, their witness, not yours. So
Even then, this is what you get.
And that's probably why you're excellent at your. That is why
Yes,
you're good at
that
your
is
job.
why she's excellent at her job.
So when you ask people questions, right, open questions, and lead them to their own conclusion, that's when people really understand things, and that's when you get the most. When you come to your own moment of realization. See, again, we talk about where we were, and the reason why we're at where we're at is because we're always judging ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that idea of lonesomeness. I think my biggest fear is who's going to want me now. I think that was my biggest fear. Who is going to want me now?
But you know, that was the true lesson, I think, and it's the lesson I tell people all the time. And I tried to say to my client last night is you have to want you.
Right.
Like
you have to be the person that you want.
You have, and you know, I try to give that to my clients as much as I can. I'm not a therapist. I don't play one on TV. I'm just a simple attorney. But I try to.
But you are a therapist. You're a therapist. You're a lawyer. Yeah. Like to your clients, this is who you are.
I try to instill to them their sense of self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're better than this. You can get past this. Keep moving forward. That's all I can do.
And you know, one thing I want to say that I did what I would have, if looking back, right? Because hindsight's 20/20, they say. Mm-hmm. Whatever
Allegedly.
that means.
Allegedly.
When I remember my first kind of dates, I guess you would. I don't know. Can you call them? What can I call them?
I don't know what they were. I don't think you can call it a date.
No.
Whatever
they were, that was it.
Right.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, am I masking something here? Am I just seeking attention from someone to fix something that's inside? And that was a bad move. I mean, for me, that was a bad move.
Yeah.
I was so afraid, deathly afraid of being alone or unlovable, unwanted, uninvited, and unincluded. Like, I didn't want to be that guy that, like, you know, like no woman wants to be the quote unquote cat lady. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But
no, you can say the cat lady.
Yeah, you can say the cat lady.
Nobody wants to be that. I didn't want to be that. What am I going to do? Be in my 40s and still go clubbing? Like, I didn't want that.
Right.
And I was afraid of that. I was afraid to be myself.
Yeah.
And I think what you said really hits a very important point. I had to learn how to be comfortable, being uncomfortable. I had to learn to be comfortable being in a room by myself.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, I will say it flat out. I will not go out to dinner by myself. Mm-hmm. If I'm meeting someone somewhere, I'm just getting to the point where I can go and sit at the bar and wait for somebody, you know, without feeling like I'm looking over my shoulder going, they must all be pointing at me right now. Look at that woman by herself. Isn't that pathetic?
Right. Well, so think about it. When you're going through crisis, right? Whatever that is. So when someone's in crisis, it's when they believe they're in crisis. That's when they're in crisis, right? Put simply, when you're in that mood. I mean, listen, I pedal quickly when I drive sometimes. Admittedly, probably not the best idea, but especially if I'm heated and I'm angry and I got a million thoughts going and I'm acting emotionally, and someone cuts me off. They did that on purpose.
Yes.
We personalize and internalize
absolutely
everything. Yeah. Once we stop doing that, that's when recovery starts.
Right.
Absolutely.
The question is we have to find the process, the method, we have to find the support. So what's great is you being an advocate for your clients is life-saving.
Yes. And as I said earlier, I think it's part of how I was raised. Mm-hmm. I was told by someone once I was raised right. I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I went to a Jesuit undergraduate school. Jesuits promote, being there for others.
Yes.
I went to a Catholic law school, and I think it's just part of the essence of who I am. It's how I was raised. It's a combination of all of that. I'm very fortunate. I was given a lot in this world, and I have to give it back.
And you do.
I try. I really, really try my best. I was telling Theresa earlier, I think I told you too, Ben, I try to do as much work as I can with Long Island Against Domestic Violence.
Yes.
Okay.
I try to, as I said, take on pro bono clients. I cut bills. Don't bill clients.
You
for
give
things.
back,
I
and that's
definitely give
important.
back in whatever way that I can.
Man by the name of Tony
absolutely.
Orgeros, who was there to save my life when I needed it most, told me, kid, you got to give it away to keep it.
You absolutely do. Because otherwise, I think that you die a little bit inside every day.
Yeah, right. I'm done with dying.
Yeah.
I think we all,
you know what? I'm done with you dying too.
I know, 'cause she's got to hear about it. But I think in order to promote recovery, we have to find out how to live.
Yeah.
And that's what recovery is.
Absolutely.
Has nothing to do with drugs or alcohol
No.
or anything. It's just, how do you want to live your life?
It's getting
Right.
past a bad situation and finding the best solution.
Right.
I got to say,
Moving forward.
this was a great show.
Yes.
This was such a
so
great
much
show.
fun. Yay,
Yeah, that's
Jean.
great. So you have to come back, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Just saying. You have to come
If she
back.
can fit us in, then she will.
And-
Once golf season starts, it's going to be a little rough.
We'll figure it out. But the question is, again, who was that you said you do help for? You do work for?
Long Island Against Domestic Violence.
Long Island Against Domestic Violence. So if someone was going through a struggle, they could reach out to Long Island Domestic
Absolutely.
Violence. Can you give them that information on the air? I want people to hear that.
I don't have their number, but they can call Long Island Against Domestic Violence. They have an 800 line. They have a 24-hour hotline.
We can Google that.
They can Google
Yeah.
them.
Them
They'll
you
set
can
up
Google.
with
Everything
therapy.
else
You're allowed to
stay away.
Google that.
Absolutely. But
right.
they are a great, great organization.
So you can tell them if they ever need anything from me.
Absolutely.
I don't like bullies.
Yeah. None of us do.
I'm a little overprotective.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little.
All right, folks. Have a great one.
Yeah.
Hey.
Peace out.
That was
Thanks,
such a good
guys.
show.